Uh, Hi, I'm Colette Monshine, and I'm here with Ezra Weisz. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a voiceover director. I'm a voiceover actor. I'm an audience warm-up comedian. I am the director of different animation and anime and dubbing, live action dubbing projects. I am here with Colette because she is what we call in our fandom, she is a miracular, which means she is a fan of Miraculous Ladybug, an animation series brought to us by Zag Animation Studios, headed up by Jeremy Zag. Uh, Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir is a series that takes place in Paris, France, where we have teenage superheroes that have special jewelry charms that allow them to transform from your everyday teenager dealing with high school and feelings of relationships and love, pressures from parents and school, into superheroes that can then save Paris from total destruction because there is an evil villain who wants to steal all the pieces of jewelry that the teenagers have so that he has the ultimate power. And with that ultimate power, he chooses to bring his wife back to life. She's in suspended animation. She's not dead. So that show has a miraculous fan base, and that's what brings Colette and I to speak to one another, because Colette is an animated animation student and who is very passionate about animation, as well as the inspirational healing properties that it has for people of all ages.
Why did you get involved in voice acting in the animation community? What inspired you or started that love for it?
I started with animation when I was doing live theater. I was doing a play. I was doing a play. It was an outdoor play. It was a big, wild comedy romp. And while I was there, there was a gentleman who was involved in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And he saw me and he said, "Hey, you have a fun voice and you've got fun energy. Would you like to go ahead and audition and read for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?" So I've always been involved in acting, Colette. It's just something that has been my passion. I've been involved in improv. I teach improv. I direct theater. I direct film and video. I love everything that involves the performing arts. And I've always thought of myself as an entertainer, and doing voiceover is just another area for me to entertain people. So if it's in front of a crowd and making them laugh by being an audience warm-up host, or if it's on stage and making them feel and maybe also making them laugh, or if it's behind the booth and creating a performance with actors so that material really does touch people when they're watching it and they become fans of a certain show. All of that feels very similar to me, even though they're all very different professional things.
What are your hopes for the future of the animation industry and possibly the theater industry in general?
Well, the animation industry is continuing to stretch and grow in ways that are becoming more and more embraced by society at large. With every bit of the video game industry that we see, we're watching people adapting software that they have at home and they're creating their own animation. Uh, Beautiful CG animation from Disney, as well as all of the Zag animation and Pixar. They're just really starting to stretch our imagination with what can be done with animation. And I think that we're seeing more and more of it with commercials and uh, um, intellectual properties that you see on the internet and on social media. You're able to now just download an app and use it as a filter, and then all of a sudden you become animated. There's even the use of animation in the most realistic form, where people are taking their old photographs, their antique photographs of their ancestors, and they're able to show through animation, realistic, those ancestors where the photo is taken, their faces move, their eyes light up, their face turns to a smile, and the emotional impact it has on the surviving family members. It's something that a great great grandchild would have never imagined to see their great great grandfather turn and look and move all through animation.
Do you consider, thank you for that response. Do you consider animation as something enjoyable for all ages, from younger children to the elderly, or young adults, everybody in the middle?
I think I think a lot of people traditionally think of animation being enjoyed by children of all ages, if you will, as a way of a grandparent enjoying animation with their grandchild. And it's not really there for the grandparent, but it is there for the grandchild. And the grandparent is enjoying how much the grandchild is enjoying it. But I don't think that's necessarily true. And we've seen some pretty mature, adult themed animation that deals with very difficult topics like war, like the loss of a loved one, like dementia, like the difficulty of just growing older, meaning like you're not just a kid, but you've graduated college and you're trying to figure out how to exist in the world. We are used to seeing mainstream animation be either very fantastical, pretty cartoonish and comical, or musical and bright and vibrant. You know, I think of things like Trolls, for instance, right? And the writers, the writers on those particular motion pictures are very smart to have humor and jokes and storylines that are talking to older folks, but still, it is a movie that really does target the kids. So it's a family movie. The whole family goes to see the movie because you're not going to send an 8-year-old to see the movie by themselves. But I do believe that work like Miyazaki, who's doing such beautiful, brilliant work, has done such beautiful, brilliant work with Studio Ghibli, as well as other more advanced and lush and beautiful animation feature films, are there for an older audience. Now, my parent, my in-laws, so my wife's parents, they still love seeing all the children animation shows, no matter what they are. They'll go and see anything because they love it, because it makes them feel younger. And I think that that's important too. If you're a senior citizen, you want to go and feel youthful again, you'll go and enjoy a movie. But I think your real question, Colette, was saying, like, no matter what age you are, is there animation for who you are at that age, for how you feel at that age, not escapism that makes you feel younger. And I think that there's animation that is growing for more and more audiences of every age that is specific for you.
Definitely.
Now, one of the things about Miraculous Ladybug, since I'm wearing the hat and we both love the show so much, Colette, that is kind of shocking for a lot of people, is it is a show that has an audience that starts as young as 4, 5, and 6, because they love the colors and they love the action, and they love seeing a show that has, like I mentioned, teenagers in it, or kids, if you will, as well as the fantastical, wild superhero quality of it all. But it also really does appeal to teenagers and young adults because of that relationship that goes on there that's dealt realistically. And then, of course, they also skew even older to parents with young children, because the parents are enjoying watching the show because the show has story and the story evolves. And it's got a beginning, middle, and end, but it also has like longer elements to it, like a longer series would have. So a show like Miraculous Ladybug really does appeal to so many people of all ages. And people are always surprised at themselves when they're like, I can't believe people think this is a kid's show. Because it's not a kid's show, it's a show. It's just a show.
Yes. Um, What other projects besides Miraculous have or shows have you been involved with, and what was your role in them?
There was another show from the Zag Animation Company called Zak Storm, ZAK, that is streaming on Netflix. It's a fun, adventurous, swashbuckler story of a young boy who gets swept up into the Bermuda Triangle and under the water and has to find his way back. But of course, the only way he can find his way back is by moving forward. So he's got a lot of adventures ahead of him, and I directed that series. That's on Netflix. It's super fun. There's an animation series that I directed the English voice recording of, and that is called Megalobox. That's a boxing show, take place in the future, dystopia world. Here, people are fighting with these like exoskeletons on, with these machines around their arms, so they punch even harder. And it's definitely for older teenagers and older. I also work on a bunch of Netflix series that are live action with people in it that were filmed in another country and in another language, from Brazil and from Spain. So there's a show that I work on that's called Cable Girls from Spain, or Las Chicas de Cable. And there's another show that I worked on that's called 3% or 3%, and that is from Brazil. And those 4 or 5 seasons long, really epic stories, great adventure. But those are, again, for an older crowd, for more for parents and, young adults, things like that, not for teenagers. Let's say 18 plus. How about that? Or R rated.
Since you have a very present presence on social media, how do you
Mhm.
feel social media has impacted the amount of people interacting with animation and anime and dubbed anime in our current world and society?
I think what I've noticed first and foremost with the social media community is shows like My Hero Academia as an anime, or even Attack on Titan, um, shows that are big and popular. The fan base, they really find a way to come together and celebrate their fandom on social media. They show each other their their fan art, they write fan fiction for one another, they make plans to see one another at big conventions. It's a way that fans can stay together and in touch and keep their love of a show alive. Um, when I first started working on Miraculous Ladybug, the first time I ever saw a person wearing a ladybug costume or a cosplayer was at a convention. And I couldn't believe it. There was a human being dressed as Miraculous Ladybug. I thought it was, I still think it's amazing. And then throughout that convention, I saw more and more people. I saw Ladybug, I saw Cat Noir, I saw the two of them together. Then I saw people dressed as the Ladybug version of herself when she's just a teenage girl, as Marinette. And I, of course, celebrated that. And then I noticed that there's a huge online community around the world that is embracing and celebrating this show. And the more I saw it, the more enthusiastic I got, and the more I wanted to just celebrate with them. I'm very proud to work on the show. I see that they love the show. If there's a way I can bring the show closer to them, closer to their heart, closer to their world, then it gives me great pleasure to do so. It also gives me great pleasure to see their response to it all. So it's like we all kind of take care of one another like that. And I've always been, Colette, I've always been like a big cheerleader, even in high school. I didn't play professional sports. I didn't play organized sports, none of that stuff. But at high school, when there was a basketball game, I would go and see the basketball game, and I'd be cheering so loud for our school because I knew the people that were playing. And I would just have so much fun because, in a way, I was entertaining by being sort of a silly cheerleader in the bleachers. And that got me some attention, but it also gave them some attention. I got positive energy, they got positive energy. And it was just super fun. So I've always enjoyed being a cheerleader. I love supporting, but I also love the feeling that I receive when people feel support from me. if that makes sense.
It really does, and that's
Okay.
incredible.
Okay.
And coming from me and all of your fans and fans of the Miraculous show, we very much appreciate everything that you do for the community and all of your support for us, supporting the show and supporting you. The taking the time to open fan mail or compliment artwork that's sent in to you. It's incredible, and we thank you very much for it. Um, Back to the questions. Has
Mhm.
the pandemic affected you and your role in the TV, film, animation, theater industry positively, negatively, or if at all?
The pandemic has um, affected me personally by some projects that were just getting ready to get started, stopped and got postponed. They're like, I guess they said this is not the time for us to start this new project. That new project was going to keep me very, very busy. That new project has nothing to do with Miraculous Ladybug. It's an entirely different.
Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Sorry about that. So it's an entirely different company, entirely different animation. It was going to be for a young, very young audience, and it was adorable, but it got pushed. So was supposed to. If you know anything about me, you know that there is a friend of mine by the name of Max, and Max likes to call me. Max is autistic, and he has a syndrome that is called Fragile X syndrome, which is on the autism spectrum. And Max and I are buddies, and we check in with each other every day. And when he starts to call me, sometime it's in the morning, sometimes it's in the middle of the day, sometimes it's when I'm on an interview with Colette. He'll call and he'll call and he'll call. So my apologies if we get frozen for a second.
No worries.
So so that work got postponed. So I'm looking to take on another project now. Fortunately, Miraculous Ladybug is recording season 4, but the way season 4 works is they give America and our studio 2 or 3 episodes at a time. So I'll do 2 or 3 episodes a month, which takes maybe about a week or a little less than a week. So for the pandemic, the work that I had that was really, really busy has slowed down, which is great because it gives me more time to open and to answer all of these great fan mails and Miraculous Ladybug letters that come in the mail for me, and gives me time to address them and send them back. The way that the animation industry for voiceovers has been affected is people can't go into studios. So everyone had to figure out a way to record from home. Fortunately, everybody was already a professional voice actor. They already had a microphone, they already had an interface, which will allows what's being recorded on their microphone to go through their computer, through the internet, and then that can come to the studio. So we were able to still keep things going, except it was on a much slower pace. But we had a learning curve. Everybody learned how to do it and pick up the pace, and now things are pretty much back to normal.
Why should people watch animated shows? What
I
is,
think I, I think people should watch animated shows as it's like saying, why should people go to an art gallery? Why should people go for a walk on the beach? Why should people read books, right? Obviously, reading books is a little bit different because it definitely strengthens your brain, right? It also helps with your eye coordination. There's lots of great stuff for reading books. Reading books is top notch. But the reason you'd want to watch animation is because it just informs you in an artistic way. It may even inspire you. So you want to be doing things like that to add variety to your entertainment as well as to your inspiration. As I'll tell you this, some of the greatest storytelling comes from comic books and comes from animation. In animation and anything illustrated and animated, it allows us to do anything, literally anything. You can watch it and see all the magic take place, and If you know, with your ability to believe it, then it is true. And you get swept away in the fantasy as it becomes reality for yourself. And some of us just like to have an escape. Some of us like to go back to a familiar place. Some of us like to be inspired because then it generates and triggers some ideas of your own so that you can then become a creator. I just think it is an excellent form of entertainment as well as an excellent form of inspiration. I think, you know, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Some people don't like ballet. Some people don't like listening to opera. Some people don't like cats. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. Can you still admire them? Should you learn a little bit more about them? I think so. Don't just shut everything off because you don't like it. I think you should be exposed to it and get an appreciation for it. And if you don't like it, then you still, nobody had to change your mind.
Thank you. That was a very great response. All of your responses are incredible. Um, do you prefer watching and or acting in animation versus or live action more, or do you consider them equal on both ends?
Do I prefer watching or acting in animation?
Both. Do you prefer watching animation or live action, and do you prefer um, acting in animation or live action?
Acting is always my preference. Acting is always my preference. Yes. I also like to, if I acted in something, I also don't prefer to watch it afterwards. It's fine to watch it, but I don't want to sit down and watch animation, and I don't want to sit down and watch things that I'm in. I'd much rather be performing and making new work. That's always preferred
Do
by
you
me.
when you're acting, do you prefer voiceover acting, acting in animation or commercials, or
Oh, good question.
action production or TV work?
I prefer doing, I prefer acting on stage. That is my love. That's the first thing. Being in front of an audience of people is what I prefer. And I do that with audience warm up and I do that with improvisation. I used to do that all the time with theater, but I stopped doing the traditional theater and I started to really invest a lot more of my life energy into improvisation as well as audience warm up, which is a mixture between improvisation and stand-up comedy. As well, it's kind of like, have you ever gone to somebody's bar mitzvah and there's that person who kind of keeps the party alive? I'm like that kind of guy, but in a professional space without a dance floor where people are sitting in seats and nobody knows one another. At least if you go to a bar mitzvah or a wedding, almost everybody knows at least half of the people there,
Yeah.
right? This is not the same thing. This is everybody's a stranger, everybody's looking around, and I have to make them laugh so loud that they're going to record it and keep it um, for the broadcast of the television show. So, but I love it. I love being in front of people and the energy of people.
In what ways do you hope the industry will grow in the future, and what kind of steps or advancements would you like to see come true in the future?
Hmm. I mean, I say the question once again.
Of course. In what ways do you hope the industry, whether it be just the animation industry or the entertainment industry as a whole, will grow and change? And what kind of steps towards that or advancements do you hope or would like to see in the future?
Well, the answer that kind of comes to mind is off of the Black Lives Matter movement that happened over the summer. And that really did raise a voice to say, let's become more inclusive and cast appropriately. And through the awakening and the loud, thunderous societal shake, global shake that happened from the murder of George Floyd and the current rise of the Black Lives Matter movement through what was then becoming known as the canceled culture movement, I noticed in the voiceover industry that people were either no longer voicing characters that were not of their cultural or ethnic origin. So for instance, if I were to be voicing a Latinx character, I am not. I'm Caucasian, I'm Jewish, I'm Polish and Hungarian. That's my upbringing, right? But if I'm in a project and I am voicing a Latinx character, I would no longer be voicing that character, either by my choosing or perhaps the production's choosing to say, listen, we need to make some adjustments here. Now, here's the thing, Colette, as a voiceover, our voice comes through the animation that you see. Truly, Colette, you could voice any character of any ethnicity because the ethnicity is in the character design and you are lending it. And you are lending it a voice, right? But the shift that's happening here in the industry now is casting directors and producers, actors themselves either are stepping away or they're rising up the voices of other performers who might not be normally approached to audition for certain characters. And I think that that shift is amazing. And I think that shift is monumental. And I think that it is necessary. And I think that it also is healthy overall for the entire industry.
I completely agree with your viewpoint on that. I'm so incredibly excited for the shift that the entertainment industry is taking into being more progressive and diverse and um, accurate. I don't know if that's the correct word for it,
Mhm.
but
No, I get what you mean when you say accurate. I mean, and I won't go into specifics, but we have had some actors that are working on a show that we both love that said, you know what? I see that that is a character of color. I'm not of that race, and that should not be played by me. So I no longer want to voice that character. And I said 100%. I completely agree with you. And let's go ahead and find the right voice together because you established this character. And I want you to still have some say so you feel good about who we're passing this character's voice along to so that it stays supportive and so that it stays transparent and so that it stays with open communication. And that is exactly what I did with any shift that we made on any of the shows that I was directing. If there was a character that needed to be recast because a character made the choice to step away from voicing that character. And and it's nothing that I made anybody do, and it's nothing that I even brought to anyone's attention. If they came to me about it, then I said, let's work on this together. And we found amazing voices.
I admire those actors who had the um, took the initiative and
Yeah,
realized um, what was happening and what they and took the steps to fix it, sacrificing a role that they might have loved because they knew deep down it wasn't right. And I admire
that's
them
right.
and I support them all the way.
Right on.
Um, how do you think animation can help the adults and young adults of today's world to be more progressive and understanding to others going forward? Or even the younger generations growing into teenage and young adulthood?
Well, I think that there's this feeling that adults, and I'll say that with air quotes, right? That adults will just let kids do what they want to do because they're just not interested. But I think overall, what the message there is that adults should take an interest and an investment in what younger people are doing, what they're watching. Show that you care about something that they care about. If we're talking about Miraculous, I've heard a lot of fans of the show that are let's just say like tweens, right? Like they're sort of 11, 12 years old. They'll say, oh, well, my parents just don't understand why I love this show so much. And, they're not sitting down and they're not watching. They don't need to sit down and watch, but you know what they could do? They could listen and say, why do you love the show so much? They could connect with their child or, with their the younger folks in their house if and find out what is it that you love so much about the show. Just like finding out about anybody. Why do you like coding so much? What is it about baseball that you like so much? What is it? You can find that as an opportunity to bond and grow closer with the people in your lives. If you just sit and listen, and if somebody loves something, ask them what they love about it, why they love it so much. Give them an opportunity to talk about something that they're passionate about and be a good listener, be an open minded listener. And don't just be like, oh, it's just a stupid cartoon, or oh, it's a stupid game, or I don't really get you, but whatever. Like it's just very, it talks down to somebody and doesn't make them feel very good. So I think that if you have an understanding of at least an animation show, of if a younger generation is watching it, passionate about it, the older generation can be like, all right, let me give this a shot. Let's figure out what this is. It's basically like saying, um, if you really, really, really love eating strawberry ice cream, it's amazing and you love it and you love it. And without ever trying it, I'm going, ew, that's gross. You're sick. Ew, I hate you. Right? And I never try it. Maybe if I try, maybe I say, oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold on, Colette. I'm going to try the strawberry ice cream. But before I do, what do you love so much about it? And you're like, I don't know. It's just got like a sweet, fruity flavor. And you just describe it in your own poetic way, right? Without even intending to be poetic, but you just are. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to taste it feeling a little more inclined to like it. And then even if I taste it, I'm like, oh no, this is not for me. Like some people are like that with boba. Oh, I love boba, I love boba. And other people are like, ew, it's nasty. I don't want little gummy balls in my drink. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But at least give it a chance and be a good listener.
Since Miraculous, recently, very recently, because of social media and TikTok and Instagram, has had a large surge in the fandom and viewers and a surge in popularity, how do you predict that it will impact younger generations and children and young adults alike watching the show going forward? And how do you hope?
Hopefully, hopefully hopefully children just aren't spending too much time on social media. I don't really think it's for them. Um, I think that social media for a show and a passionate fan base like Miraculous has me worried because it's great when we all get along, but as soon as somebody starts to get too passionate about a certain point and not realize that we should just take it lightheartedly and with a sense of humor, and be respectful of everyone's opinions, it can get really dark and people can be very nasty to one another. And I've seen that happen before, and I don't like that at all. Um, if there are certain characters that you like, if there's certain relationships within the show that you like, and somebody else is like, no, this other one's better, and then they just start getting vicious at one another, it's very toxic. And then they start to bully and attack one another. And that's what I noticed happening about 2 years ago. I'm not seeing it happen right now as much, but that also could be, Colette, because I try and create a positive bubble. And I only want to have positivity when it comes to talking about the show. I don't want to be a referee. I don't want people to say, hey, Ezra, so and so saying this about that character. And I don't know if I'm like, people can say what they want. I just want to keep it positive. I just want to keep it positive because if you want to be toxic and you want to fight, there are other places for that, but not within my scope of my social media. And if you want to participate in a positive environment, then I welcome you to join me on my journey and what I do on social media. But all that other stuff, I get nervous. Like once season 4 comes out and people start looking at the episodes, they're just going to, they might start to say, let's fight about this, let's fight about that. And I hope that doesn't happen.
I think that you are being very successful with your goal of being a bubble of positivity and happiness because, like I said earlier in the interview, it's working, and the community is very much benefiting from you being here in general, seeing as you are a very large staple of the show itself. and of the community and interactions with the community. Um, what part of production do you enjoy most? Pre-production, post-production, production, or like seeing the audience's reaction to the show?
Definitely my most favorite part is when we're working with the actors and we're actually recording. It's my most favorite part. There's a part that I like in pre-production when I get to see the episode before anybody else does in terms of the actors. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gonna happen. They're gonna freak out. And oh my gosh, I can't believe this level of, conflict or character collision or an introduction. Like I remember how insane it was in the episode with Undine when all of a sudden Marinette gets to have a macaron that allows her to become Aquabug. I was like, oh, they're gonna freak out about it. Or when there's a moment when the characters kiss or they clutch their fingers and they dance together, even though it's just a dream or a character was akumatized or it was just a mirage or whatever the reason is, I still know that the fandom is going to go crazy for it. So in pre-production, I love those moments. And I've been having those moments today and yesterday because I'm watching new episodes that are happening. And I'm like this, oh, they're going to freak out.
I can
They're going to
imagine.
freak out. And in fact, going along the lines of the age question that's been happening, right? The age, how old is this one and how old is that one? In one of the episodes that I just watched, they literally said something, 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 because they're that old, something, something, something. And I'm like, well, there's proof right there. Everyone's going to get proof, at least for that particular character. I'm not going to say which one.
Of course not.
Um,
You don't have any
no,
spoilers.
but it was really super exciting, Colette. And then I really do enjoy watching how the fandom reacts to it, as long as it's positive. And when I mean positive, I know people are going to love the show. I know they are. The show's so very good. But in terms of like embracing it and giving it put ups. On my lives, I like to talk about put ups, especially when it comes to the fan art. Like, I don't want to hear people being like, oh, what is that? Or something negative. Only people should hear, the only thing they should hear are put ups, like compliments, things that put them up higher on a pedestal. So those are the things I'm looking forward to, or the praise that people give it. And I'm not Pollyanna-ish. I don't want everything to be perfect. I know that there's room for critique and that's important. And I know that not everybody's going to like everything. I know that that's important. But like I said, within my social media stuff, I just want to keep a positivity bubble. That's it. Just good vibes only, positive vibes, respect for each other, encouragement and support for one another. That's always been the words that make me feel the best to say, are those words that I know make people feel the best to feel. And sometimes those are not the most financially lucrative words. The most financially lucrative words are conflicting words, are opinionated words, or hard, evil words. I don't like that. I just don't. So but recording by far, Colette, is my most favorite part. I love working with actors. I like working on the script. I love the acting of it. I like listening to it when it's all done before it goes sent back to France for them to pair it all up with the animation. I love it. I love it very, very much.
I'm guessing hearing the bloopers is also pretty funny as well.
Sometimes we make our own bloopers on purpose because we see moments where we can kind of like improvise a little moment in the script that doesn't really happen. And sometimes we actually improvise fun moments that are appropriate for the show and we leave them in there. So it's just fun to be creative. Being creative is just amazing.
Like Samantha in Frozen 2 was improvised by um blanking on his name, who plays Olaf. Samantha was
Oh, oh boy, what's his name? Hold on.
yeah.
Josh Gad.
Yes, Josh Gad, Book of
Yeah,
Mormon.
right.
He improvised that line, and Disney loved it so much they were like, "We're keeping it in there."
Awesome. Yeah, those happen. Moments like that happen. That's why you got to create your own stuff and be free and comfortable for you to create. All right, Colette, I have time for one more question.
Okay. Um, who I have. Ooh, I have so many good ones. Um,
They were all good ones. You asked excellent questions, but I only have time for one more.
of course. Um, what are the different thought processes that go through your mind when you're playing a adult character versus a child character, and how do you portray those in the final cut of what you're doing?
Well, I always try to play and depict characters as realistic as possible so that they have, emotions that are honest. And I try not to make it feel false if possible. Um, and when you're doing it in a booth and you're dubbing a show and the show kind of goes quickly and you don't have a lot of time to do a deep dive into stuff, you'll have a director say, or myself will say, here's what's going on in the scene, and here's what's happening with you, and here's what's just happened, or here's what's about to happen, and we're building towards those moments, and that will help inform the choices. But no matter what it is, no matter how fast you have to work, you really have to be authentic and work from a level of being truthful to the character. So truthful to the character means also truthful to you. So you have to find some things about how you feel and how you would be feeling if this was you, really you, saying those things, because emotions are real and they're transmittable and people can feel them when they're happening. When you feel a character in love with someone, you feel it at home. When you feel a character um, tortured or wronged, you feel how that breaks your heart as well. So you got to be truthful with all of the interpretations that you do, behind the microphone or on the stage, in front of the camera, wherever it is. It's always about being truthful.
Thank you again for doing this.
You're
Would you
welcome, Colette.
promote any social medias, Miraculous, anything you want to promote to put to the people watching? Um,
Yeah, always. I mean, I'm always very interested. If someone has never ever seen Miraculous Ladybug, you can watch it on Netflix and on Disney Plus. So go ahead and watch the show and see what it's all about and why Colette and I love it so much. And you, of course, I encourage everybody to follow me on social media. On social media, on TikTok, it is my name, Ezra Weisz, EZRAWEISZ like zebra. And it is the exact same handle that I have on Instagram. It's at Ezra Weisz. And make sure that it's my account, because there are some people who've been making fake accounts with my name. You'll know that it's my account because my page is filled with my content. And it probably has more followers than the fake account. The fake account might have like 100 followers, but my account will have more than that. So make sure that you follow me along. And if you like to write mail and you want to be a pen pal with me, you can find my P.O. box address on both Instagram and TikTok on my bio. And that's pretty much it, Colette. Thanks for allowing me to say that.
Thank you so much again for this interview. It was lovely talking to you and getting a chance to meet you and learn from you. And I hope everybody watching this enjoyed it too.
I hope so too. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks.